can you say something about the situation on gender identity in your country? Is there self-ID, etc.?
In the Czech Republic, in order to achieve legal gender recognition for now, you have to be 18 years old, you have to undergo sterilization, and you have to divorce if you're married. And also you have to receive a gender identity disorder diagnosis, but also you have to undergo sex reassignment surgery. And there's no option to change your legal gender to like a third gender, but teenagers who are younger than 18 can be given puberty blockers. But of course, now many people are challenging this. And in June 2018, actually the Ministry of Justice proposed a law which would allow for legal gender recognition without sterilization and sex reassignment surgery. They would only need a gender identity disorder diagnosis from a sexologist, and it would also permit children under the age of 15 and over the age of 12 to ask for a legal change of gender with parental approval. And this proposal was actually submitted in reaction to the European Human Rights Court's decision, which stipulates that a person who wants to legally change their gender should be able to do so without sex reassignment surgery. So this is binding for the Czech Republic, but the proposal was still rejected by the Supreme Administrative Court. However, today, an amendment to the existing laws is still being discussed again this year by the Constitutional Court, but a decision has not been reached. I also thought that it was interesting that, the number, regarding the number of transgender people. So it's very low still, but it has still significantly risen in the past decade, especially among women who want to be men. The number has doubled since 2015, so it's pretty huge. And then I also did some research on Vietnam. So in Vietnam, until 2015, sex reassignment surgery as well as legal gender change was illegal. Like transgender rights weren't really recognized. However, in November 2015, the Vietnamese government voted in favor of legalizing the right for legal gender change. And this law went into effect in 2017. But for it to be fully enforced, another bill had to be passed. But due to priority of other issues, this bill hasn't been reviewed by the National Assembly yet. So it doesn't yet work properly, and people are not yet able to really transition. And then I thought it'd be interesting to see how the general population kind of sees gender identity and transgender people. So they usually consider men who want to be women as simply gay men. And I can myself see that because in our family, we have a family friend who is Vietnamese and is a man who wants to be a woman. And we do call him by female pronouns, but no one actually considers him a woman. And to be honest, I don't think he really considers himself a woman either. And I think this is like generally among many Vietnamese transgender people in general, the Western liberal understanding of gender identity is generally unknown. But I mean, I think the younger people, they are more aware of it now due to internet and like Western influence. And the transgender population in Vietnam is like around 500,000, so around 0.5%. And from our observation, like, of course, it's very similar everywhere that people want to transgender due to patriarchy. But I think in Vietnam, it's much worse because in Vietnam, there's like this Confucian culture, and that's very conservative and patriarchal. And I think it's like much harsher. And in general, same-sex attracted people often face discrimination in their families and schools. And a lot of Vietnamese people, and in my family, people believe that homosexuality is a disease. And this has been made worse in the early 2000s when Vietnamese state media has condemned homosexuality as social evil. Therefore, women and men often transition because it is so difficult for them to like accept that they're homosexual. They feel like they are not normal and they can't really like have a family, normal family. And I think, because it's so patriarchal, I can see that in my own family that the hierarchical relationship between man and woman is very significant in Vietnam, and it's like accepted and normalized, and people I think see it as very just normal, and they don't really question it. And men are clearly more respected than women and get away with violence and abuse against women very easily. And because women are not helped and have a lot of internalized misogyny themselves. So I think that considering how hard life can be for Vietnamese women, it does not like surprise me at all that they want to be men.
Great. Now we're going to go to Finnish Feminist to tell us, can you say something about the situation on gender identity in your country?
In Finland, transgender people can change their legal sex on identity documents, but it requires a medical report of being in the so-called gender reassignment treatment, being an adult, so 18 years old at least, and having Finnish nationality or residence in Finland. However, the first name can be changed already at the beginning of the gender reassignment process. And I read an article written by a pro-trans rights activist, and she said that the medical process would be a separate issue from the legal self-ID in the program of the new Finnish government led by women. But this is apparently still in progress. And because of this COVID-19, lots of things they've had to postpone a lot of things. So maybe, I don't know, this might not be the first priority for now. In general, I think also in Finland, trans people are quite represented in the media, in the newspapers.
So now we're going to hear from Jimena Bautista from Bolivia. She's radical feminist, anarchist, and women's human rights country contact for Bolivia.
Hi, first of all, I would like to thank you, Women's Human Rights Campaign, for inviting me to speak about Bolivia. It means a lot to me and Bolivian women. And I would like to apologize in advance of any English mistakes because I'm still learning to speak English. Gender identity law in Bolivia was approved in 2016. It allows the person who is not satisfied with their gender to legally change their name, sex information, and all the legal documentation. It describes gender identity as the experience of gender as each person feels it, lives it, and exercises it before society, which may or may not correspond to the sex assigned at the time of birth. This law forgets that sex is genetically immutable and a material fact. Next, please. Also, this law confuses sex with gender, which according to the law itself is the social construction of roles, behaviors, use, ideas, clothings, practices of cultural characters, and other customs for men and women. This is Brigida Arrata, a trans-identified man. Next, please. It's because this despicable law that heterosexual men can simply change their legal information to be a woman. Their word is enough because they were born a man. And as an example of how ridiculous this law is, we have the case of Diego Aramburu, that has been legally a woman since 2018, but he has decided not to change his sexual orientation or the way he presents himself. He's still heterosexual, and he has done no body modifications to himself. He is still a man, but now a woman on his documentation. Next. This is Diego Aramburu. Are you seeing any women here? Anyway, next. If his intention was to break with rigid limits and open the mind to the question of gender, his words, why did he never do anything to change the misogynist culture of our country? He's just used a perverse law to mock all the legal system, but also to mock all women. One example of his questionable intentions is this performance called pornography. Next. Another example is TV news host Leone Dourado, a transidentified man that has been forgiven for racist and misogynist statement because now he represents himself as a woman. Urgent issues such as access to abortion or the national epidemic of feminicides and infanticides remains outside the sphere of debate because it is more important to deal with feelings of trans women than to talk about the violence against women. Ironically, violence against women seems to be something acceptable for these activists that insist on using threats that range from rape to death against those who organize to fight for women's issues regarding safety. So what is happening is that these men are being seen and treated as women while they occupy our space little by little. First, they take our jobs like Leone Dourado, then invade our bathrooms and locker rooms, our sports. Once inside our space, there will be nothing to protect us anymore. And if they want to harass, abuse, rape, or murder us, it will be easier to do so.